and welcome to Morning Express. My name is Trix Ingado. Today on the show, we shall be taking a look at what's making headlines both locally and internationally. But as you have seen on your screens just a few seconds ago, the BBI is the biggest story. So that is something we're going to be tackling with Michael Gitonga at around 1:30. Michael, what do we have for us?
Yes, well, there is that call for a change in some of the proposals that are in the BBI report that has been given out. But those allied to the president and ODM leader Raila Odinga say there is no time for us to do that. Those are just delay tactics from the deputy president's front. Is that the truth? Well, that's what we'd like to find out. And of course, the question is, the president, while launching the document, did mention and make it very clear that there would be an opportunity and a platform for discussions to be had. But from what we've heard from those who are pushing for it, they say there is no time for that and there is no more time for delay. Let it be adopted as it is. So that's what we're going to be looking at and asking the question as to whether that should be the case. But as usual, would like you to participate in the debate, and we have a question for you.
Do you think the country is in a position to hold a referendum before 2022? Do you think the country is in a position to hold a referendum before 2022? I'm at Trix Ingado. Michael is Michael G. Gitonga, and the hashtag you need to use in order to be a part of this conversation is KTN Morning Express. Hashtag KTN Morning Express, and be a part of the conversation. And we shall be taking a look at what's making headlines internationally. 2020 is proving to be quite the politically charged year, and that is being reflected in both the local and international coverage of stories. And the US is quite awash with politics. It is fever pitch right now, but then we shall start in neighboring Tanzania and take a look at what's making headlines. They just come out of an election, and Magufuli receives winner's certificate in Dodoma. This is according to the Citizen. This is giving us news in that part of the country. Various headlines have been outlined here. Tanzanian election 2020. Opposition parties demand repeat in general election. Tanzania election 2020. Magufuli wins Tanzania's presidency for a second term. And Mwinyi, I am ready to work with the opposition. Far from that, Magufuli in the lead. Of course, this was before he was declared winner with 9.5 million votes on the second day of counting. Now, far from that, let's take a look at what's happening in neighboring Uganda. It says how push for opposition coalition collapse, and all the players have been outlined right here. These include Bobby Wine, who has been a very vocal advocate for youth affairs, and these talks apparently collapsed according to the Daily Monitor. To learn more, take a look at that paper and see what you can decipher from this front page article. Then we have Rwanda Today. Magufuli's victory and regional power play. We do know that President Uhuru Kenyatta did, support that win, and clearly from this picture, it depicts the same. There are other players right there. We have South Sudanese President Salva Kiir, our own President Uhuru Kenyatta, and John Paul Magufuli during the 90th plenary, I think, East African Community Heads of State meeting in Kampala, Uganda. This was happening in February 2015. So that's a file photo, but of course depicting the fact that regional leaders are rallying behind President Magufuli, despite all that came with that particular election. Now let's take a look at the East African. Magufuli's win is still taking center stage. Magufuli wins a vote by a landslide. Clearly you saw the numbers. They elicited a lot of interest online, and a lot of people are wondering how that could be, but obviously this is a win that has been stamped by that certificate that he did receive in Dodoma, according to the Citizen. Now, Tanzania police arrest 37 over poll-related chaos. Tanzania is not known for chaos, so this is one of the new elements that have come out of this particular election. They did not, some of them did not take the win, or rather how the politics was playing out kindly. So take a look at that and see how the fallout is. Now, CNN is our next paper, and as I said, internationally and locally, politics is taking center stage. A nation of crisis faces critical moment. The 2020 election comes as Americans deal with the ongoing pandemic, a resulting recession, and unresolved reckoning over race. Far from that, we have FBI investigating alleged harassment of Biden campaign bus. Very interesting element that comes out of this story is the fact that Donald Trump did praise the people who actually harassed Biden's campaign bus. Very interesting. The U.S. election is one that we shall be keeping a close eye on and keeping you updated on how agencies are covering it and, of course, the details that you need to know. Far from that, remember, you can be a part of the conversation. Today we're talking about the BBI and the fact that we're going to a referendum. Do you think the country is in a position to hold a referendum before 2022? That conversation shall be happening at past. But joining me for the conversation on what's making headlines, press review, is show regular Ambrose Weda, who is a lawyer and a canon, as well as Uasin Gishu Women Representative Gladys Boss-Sholei, who shall be joining us later, and Honorable Joe Mutambo, who's a former Mwingi Central Member of Parliament. Let's take a look at the... welcome to the show, gentlemen. Let's take a look at what's making headlines. We shall stay away from the BBI and save it from a while later, but we have more stories here, and the biggest, far from the BBI, is the coronavirus infections. Now, the Daily Nation this morning is telling us that Kenyans are paying billions in COVID-19 hospital bills, and of course, they have broken it down, and we're told that the treatment for COVID-19 since March 13, when the first case was reported in Nairobi, a new study has revealed that Kenyans are paying an arm and a leg. Obviously, they're fighting for their lives, and therefore, for some, this is something they have to dig deep into their pockets. But for others, however deep they dig, there's nothing there. There's a section of the community, and this article is looking at that just cannot handle what it takes to get treatment for coronavirus. So I'll start with you, Mr. Weda. What do you make of this one? Mr. Weda, can you hear me? Well, let's take a look at what that story. I don't know if we're having a technical hitch. Honorable Mutambo, can you hear me? Yeah, it seems like we're having an issue with taking a look at those with communication, but I'll give you more details on what this article does say. So they're giving us costs. They're breaking it down. Here they say patients with severe and critical COVID-19 problems are faced with a bill of a total cost of 150,850, and then the total cost for patients with mid and mild moderate conditions, right there, they have to pay at least 23,000 for treatment. These are costs per day. The cost per day are also given to us, and for the middle and mild, infection rates are at 1,995. For the more severe situations, you might have to pay above 12,000 shillings. And then we have a total cost of around 23,916 for the lesser severe situations, the asymptomatic patients, and the cost would go to 1,993. So you see, for anyone who is living below the poverty line, this would be an uphill task. Now, Mr. Weda, if you can hear me now, what do you make of this analysis of the costs of treating coronavirus in this age?
Thank you so much, Trix. Good morning, our viewers. I think when it comes to generally medical issues, but healthcare, it is fairly expensive.
Yes.
Very expensive all over the world. And that is why it becomes part of the agenda in any campaign to provide affordable, quality healthcare. Today, if you fall ill in this country, you'll find that even those who have bought insurance from insurance companies,
yes, more
than 3/4 of things you can suffer from are excluded. And then now you have the NHIF, which is flip-flopping and hardly works. Now, if you look at suffering, even corona today, ordinarily you just leave yourself in the hands of them, because 70% of Kenyans cannot afford. Some of them cannot even afford to pay for the card.
Yeah.
They can't afford to pay the cost of the card. They can't even afford to pay consultation fees set at 500, 300 in the local institutions. So it is a question that requires national government intervention by policies and funds and putting up schemes. Scheme. Otherwise, the way it is, you are left just in the hands of God. You fall ill, you walk into an hospital, you don't even have to have, you don't have the deposit, you can't afford it. That is too expensive.
Yes.
Majority of Kenya are earning less than 20,000 shillings a month.
They cannot afford that, or give it, let alone that almost 2,000 shilling cost that you would have to pay even if you have the very mild symptoms. Now we're having a promise here that is being outlined in the Daily Nation. It told NMS to open 150-bed facility at the Mbagathi Hospital soon, is how it's being put here. And what do you make of these promises, and do you think we're well on our way to ensuring that we have sufficient and adequate treatment facilities for coronavirus, given that reports have indicated that we are getting overwhelmed by the day? Honorable Mutambo.
You see, ordinarily, all pandemics or any disasters occurring in any state, it is the responsibility to take care of its citizen. Otherwise, you will have people, you will have no people to govern, or you will have no people to rule. Yes. So it is the responsibility of the government to make sure that it has adequate facilities to treat its own people, because this is a pandemic which nobody anticipated. And at this hour, to be told that, to be given promises that we'll have this, we'll have that, to me, I think it is not fair to the citizens of Kenya, because this pandemic came some 8 months ago and it is here with us, and we should have known by now what we need and what we don't need. When we were not prepared, we were told there's no money, there's no money, there's no money. Money came in and money was used in different ways. So I think the government needs to be a little bit more serious in handling matters, especially catastrophes like pandemics, which has happened in our country, like Corona. This is something which got people off guard and unaware. And it is not the wish of Kenyans to have this disease. So the government should be ready at all time. As much as we are telling people to be prepared to treat themselves, the government must also be prepared, because it is a constitutional right for the government to offer free and quality health care to its citizens. And the issue of, as mentioned, the issue of insurances. Insurances must cover you because it is about your well-being. It is unfortunate that those insurances, they exempt so many diseases or so many issues which actually affect the people today. You are told if you are under this age, you cannot be covered. If you are suffering from this, we are not going to cover you. You should not be subjected to any question, because they are covering you as a person. They are supposed to cover you as a all. It's just like when you are covering a car. They don't ask you whether you have new tires. They don't ask you whether you have an engine in that car, you have a gearbox in that car. They cover you as it is. So you are covered as you are, and that is what the law says. So to me, I think at this time, the government should be a little bit more serious. We know that there could be some issues with funding. We have a problem with money, and I'm sure we are going to discuss that in the next few hours, few minutes. But it is very important for the government to make sure that they cover their citizen. Otherwise, you'll have no people to govern.
That's so true. Now, there's a worrying story right here on page 12 of the Standard this morning that tells us about the situation at the coast. Now, coast COVID cases up, and as schools, hospitals shut. Now, I'll read a quote here. This is according to one of the local county director education, James Nyaga, referred the Standard to medical authorities for further explanation, but he did say that he has heard of a case of a 10-year-old student, a pupil who had contracted the disease, but he did not want to divulge more information for obvious reasons. Now, also on the Daily Nation, we're told about medics paying the ultimate price as they try to fight the coronavirus. Could more be done about this situation, and particularly with schools? These are very vulnerable parts of our society. Mr. Weda.
Thank you so much. I think a lot could be done, a lot could be looked at. You look at the hotspots, and I don't think even the problem is in the schools. I think the problem is right from where the president sits, where the deputy president sits, and all the signals. They are the ones who are calling rallies and doing functions as if there is nothing happening, as if there's no danger. And therefore, the children, people think things are normal. You see, when somebody like the president himself, when somebody like Honorable Raila walks around and hugs people and looks like, okay, you can't convince your child or your daughter or your cousin that there's a problem outside there. So it is not in schools. You walk into some of the schools, the protocols are observed and there's relative safety. You walk into some of the restaurants, they observe these things. So it is, first of all, the political class, then followed by scorners. I've seen even church leaders. Somebody scorns you for wearing a mask. Somebody thinks that is cowardice. So you look at it and you know, actually, the devil is really fat. The problem is with the leadership. A fish rots from the head. So we should not worry about schools. Let us face the bull. Let us face where the problem is. Let us talk to our president. Let us talk to our deputy president. Let us talk to Honorable Raila. Let us talk to all these leaders so that they tell us when they fall ill, they'll be taken to Walter Reed in America or in Dubai. When you fall ill, you will be told home care. Either you are there with your God or you die. So I really don't think it is schools. It is the leadership giving us bad examples, we follow, and then we die like flies.
Okay. Honorable Mutambo, do you think it's the leadership that's the problem? And being a part of the political class of this country, what is it about political waves that make it easy, given what's happening and what we see, for them to just be flippant about the more important things such as social distancing? We see similar situations even unfolding in the United States, where on one side of the political divide they're taking more care, while on the other side it's anything goes. What is it about politics that makes it quite difficult for people, or rather the political elite, to adhere to certain rules that are actually for the good of the people themselves?
Politicians or political class are the mirror of our social activities, how we behave. If a political leader calls a rally somewhere and the people goes out there and this person is not wearing a mask and he has called people and they have come without wearing a mask, definitely you don't need to be a rocket scientist. There will be infections. People will contract this disease and they will take it home where their children are. And those children, they'll get it from their parents or from their relatives or from their friends, and they will take it to school. So as politicians, we are a mirror and we reflect the lives we live and the activities and the behaviors we do. We take it back to our society. And our society copied that, and they move along with it. If I go to a rally where there is some people who have coronavirus, I will take that coronavirus and I will take it home to my children. And then I will start blaming the school. It is not the school. The school was there, was fumigated, the teachers were there, they were not sick, and these children will take the disease to their teachers. Teacher would want to attend to a child, and we need to understand that these teachers, they do not have even protective gears. So they are attending these children with the naked hands and with the naked bodies, with nothing to cover themselves. So I want to agree with 100% that what we are doing as politicians, it is reflecting to our social lives, and it is very important for us, if we are doing all these meetings, to observe all the protocols if need be, because we must do the meeting. If the meeting must be there, let us observe all the protocols, because this pandemic is still here with us. We are being told that the second wave is kicking in, and it's kicking in badly, and we need to understand now that we do not have money. The money has been withdrawn. So if we do not have money to buy the equipment we require and the medicine and to support the medics, how are we going to live? We are exposing our lives more and more because of all these things which are coming up, the political cloud, the BBI cloud, which I think, okay, fine, it's a good thing. We need to discuss about our country.
Yeah.
But at the same time, our life is very, very important, very paramount. We may talk about BBI and we do not have, like I said before, you have no people to tell about BBI.
Yes.
They are all sick and dead.
Absolutely.
Are we going to address them hospitals and you tell them that there is a prime minister in the BBI and you are sick in the hospital. So we need to think this thing through and we need to understand without any feelings. And when somebody says that, let them not be taken to a group that because now you are not talking anything positive about BBI, you are pro-weather. I mean, it's not the way to go. We need to have a discussion and understand it is our lives. It is our lives for God's sake.
Okay, let's shift gears to what's happened in Tanzania. And we have a headline on the front page of the Daily Nation this morning that says Tanzania opposition demands a fresh vote. Chadema leader Tundu Lissu has said that he's calling for protests against the president. This is very uncharacteristic of Tanzanian election and the election cycles. Something seems to have changed. Mr. Wether, what's your analysis of the situation that happened? A very dramatic one, if I may say so.
It is laughable. If you look at our old clips, I remember when Magufuli was elected, everybody was like, we need a Magufuli in Africa.
Yes.
We need a Magufuli in Kenya. I saw people, leaders, and I said, wow, this is how low our wisdom levels are. I said, this man who does not follow order, he is disorderly, he is difficult. This cannot lead a serious nation. I remember one time saying, if President Uhuru was to try 1% of that, we will fight and you'll see blood flowing freely. Now you have seen where they have gone. They have reached where I think the elections will be called a hoax. It is laughable. It's a big joke. It is funny. It embarrasses us Africans that we can't just organize ourselves into leadership. Anybody comes in, he gets into power, he turns mad. Here it is, there was another man who was in the UN called Ruto. He has also extended his term. So if you look at Tanzania, it is a joke. And the problem is, it is a time bomb. You can oppress people, sit on people for long, but one day they'll wake up. And when they wake up, you'll never know what would happen. When you hear a president lamenting, taking people's chicken, burning people's chicken, taking people's cows, deriding Kenyans at home, then they are closing themselves in the corona, as we are not. When you see such kind of madness, you know, again, I repeat, the devil is fat. I sympathize with Tanzanians, and I tell them, you must fight on. The spirit of Jaramogi will be there with you. The spirit of Matiba will be there with you. We are remembering in prayers, but you have to stand up. Otherwise, you'll be in eternal slavery. If anybody tries here in Kenya, we will abandon law. We will just go into the streets. If it is too much, the bush.
As is customary. Now, Honorable Mutambo, what is your analysis of the situation in Tanzania?
My take will be based from a political school of thought.
Yes.
This is people who have made up their decision, and it is in any election, there will be a winner and there will be a loser. And as Africans, we also need to come to an age where we need to understand and accept defeat. If it was bungled, it is the system of their country, and they need to streamline their system in the country so that they do not go into election when they know that their systems are not correct. The moment you participate in that kind of a game, you cannot say, I have a team here, you agree to play, and you see the pitch is not well leveled. If you see the pitch is not well leveled, just withdraw. All of you say we are not going to play because the pitch is not good.
Right.
So, but the moment you jump in, you will not say, you know, I lost because there was mud in the pitch. This, we cannot take it that way. My take is this: we need to streamline our thinking, and we need to streamline how we participate in election. And that is what is happening in Kenya, that today we are moving officials from electoral commissions every season, every 3 months. If we feel that this man is not good, we have to kick him out. We don't feel this one, we will never get any angel in our country or in Africa to manage our election. It is ourselves to make sure that we do. I know Wether may disagree with me, but this is what it takes and this is what it will take.
Yes.
But the way it is,
today, everybody, I want to tell you, even whether he does very well, he may fight somewhere and maybe he don't have support, he has only 10 people who are supporting him. And they will tell him whether you'll win, and he will lose with landslide, and tomorrow he'll be in court. My votes have been stolen. Why did you steal? How was it stolen? It is not. To me, I think we need to change the narrative and we need to change our thinking, how we understand and how we partake our election in our continent.
Actually,
Number two, it's very difficult. It is very
Honorable
difficult
Mutambo,
for
we
us
seem to have
judge
run out of time,
Tanzania.
so please just hold on to that thought. But indeed, you have a very valid point there. It's a continental issue, not just about Tanzania or Kenya. Now, remember, you can be a part of the conversation. Do you think the country is ready for, is in a position to hold a referendum before 2022? Some of your comments have already come in. We have here Richard Cheriot, who's asking Ulisikia wapi? Then Melvin saying no, says I don't think so. Ruto Rogas de Mwenge says this is Kenya, relax and watch how big boys do things. And then Simon Kamau Warui says I think it's not the right time even to have this divisive